read the verses we covered last time. So we are reading from verse 14 to verse number 17. Okay, so it's on my page 40. Yeah. Tasmadajnanamevatra sarvada dukkha karanam tatsvarupam hinyatavyam vicharena maya satyabuddhiryada drishye swatmano bhinnata tatha sukha buddhistada tasmin dukkha buddhirhi bhavet ragadveshau prajayete tada chitte vridhaivahi ताभ्यां यहं प्रवर्ते वा निवर्ते लोकवस्तुनि लाभे सुखी तथा दुःखी ह्यलाभे प्रियवस्तुनः संसारोऽयं मया प्राप्तः मिथ्याध्यासा पुरस्सरः. So here, we learned last week the 7 steps to samsara, 7 steps to transmigration, to this continuous cycle of birth and death. What are the 7 steps? The cause of everything is ajnana, or ignorance. Particularly, we don't know our real nature, and we don't know the real nature of the world. Because of this ignorance, step 1 is we take the world to be very, very real. Very real. And step 2, we take the world to be something that's different from us. Something that's other than us. Then step 3 is we start to superimpose joy or sorrow in the world. We start to superimpose that some things can make us happy, some things can make us sad. And then step 4, raga dvesha. We start to have likes and dislikes. We like those things which we think will make us happy. We dislike those things which we think will make us sad. And then we have pravritti nivritti, meaning those things which we like, we go after them. We keep going after them. And those which we dislike, we keep away from them. We make all of our efforts, all of our attempts to be away from them. And then step 6, what happens then is we become happy or we become sad. Is it such a bad thing if we become happy? For how long? Right? So we become sad, nobody wants to become sad. But we fail to realize that even the happiness is sadness, because we're only happy for some time, and then after that, again, we're wanting more and wanting more and wanting more. So either we are dissatisfied or we are unfulfilled. And step 7, this is samsara. This starts again and again and again. So we take the world to be absolutely real. We take the world to be something very, very much tangible and something that can exist in its own right. When we learned that actually the world is very much dependent on consciousness. And that consciousness, you are. So this world is nothing but a whole superimposition on my awareness, on awareness. And because this world is nothing but awareness alone, then everything is me. This whole thing rests in me. Me, when I say me, I mean awareness. It emerges from me, it is sustained in me, it dissolves in me. And the world does not have any independent reality from consciousness or awareness. And because it does not have any independent reality, everything it cannot exist. It cannot exist without awareness. So if we take out awareness from the world cannot exist. If we take any object and we take away the awareness of it, we cannot experience the existence of the object. So we say this book is. But how is this book? It is, but it is in my awareness. It is in my experience. We might not say this, but this is what it is. And without awareness, without this experience, we will not be able to interact with this book. So this world, we saw this already, I'm just reviewing, is a superposition on ourselves. It is nothing but us. And so one who understands this doesn't go into the world to get something, to hoard something, to desire something, to gain something, because they know that the world is in me. When we don't know the world is in me, we go out in the world and we superimpose and we say, this can make me happy, this can make me sad. And then we put all of our energies chasing all of these things. And at the end of the day, we chase them, but we never completely find true happiness. We are just kind of left empty yet again. So the one who realizes that this whole expression is just me, lives their life of dharma, lives their life of duty, lives their life of beauty, and sees this field as a play of the divine. They don't get too caught up in wanting this, craving this, chasing that, chasing this. Those people don't get caught up in doing all of that. So in this way, this is how samsara happens. Now, what do we do to purify ourselves? How can we purify ourselves? Because for the mind to understand this knowledge, it needs to be pure and subtle. So here, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is actually going to give us some means, some upayas. So verses 19 to 22 are straight from Srimad Bhagvatam, and verse 18 is an introduction. So we will see that now. Upayam Narada Praha, Upayam Narada Praha, Chitta Dosha Nivrittaye, Chitta Dosha Nivrittaye, Yudhisthiraya Prageva, Yudhisthiraya Prageva, Tam Smarami Cha Shreyase, Tam Smarami Cha Shreyase. So here we have seen what ignorance is, how it manifests. It is taking the world to be very much real and very much different from me. And we've seen this in detail last week. Now, how do we kind of tune our minds to make them pure, to understand this reality? The reality of the self, the reality of who we are, and the reality of the world. How do we tune our minds to understand it? He says the means, Bhaya, Naradaha Praha. Sage Narada had spoken about the means. Chitta dosha nivrittaye, for removing the impurities of one's own mind. Yudhishthiraya prag eva. He had said this, Sage Narada had said this to Yudhishthira. From before, he had said this to Yudhishthira earlier in the past itself. Tam smarami. That means, or those sets of means, I am remembering Chashreyase, for my own good. So verses 19 to 22 now are going to be back in purifying the mind, making it subtle and sharp. So let us start now with verse number 19. Okay? Asankalpachaye kamam, asankalpachaye kamam, Shodhanam Arthanarthekshaya Lobham Arthanarthekshaya Lobham Bhayam Tatvavamarshanath Bhayam Tatvavamarshanath. So here he says these are the weaknesses of our minds. They are what? Kama, desire, Krodha, anger, Lobha, greed, Bhaya, fear. These are the weaknesses of our mind that's preventing our mind to delve into such subtleties of life. That's preventing the mind from digging deeper within. And for each one, he's given a remedy. So first, let's look at desire. And we've already seen this, but we will see it in a different context. How to overcome desire, which is kama, is asankalpat, is to have conquered, jayet, fanciful imaginations. So here, sankalpa means fanciful imaginations. When we do a puja, we also take a sankalpa. There it means firm resolve. So here the meaning of sankalpa is something different. It means that we imagine things. So when we take this world to be very real and alive and different from us, we say, if I get that, then I will be very happy. That is called sankalpa. If I get this promotion, I'm going to be very happy. If my child gets into this school, I'm going to be very, very happy. If I get invited to this program, I'm going to be super happy. If I go on this vacation, it's going to be great, right? This sankalpa is called, it's imaginal, it's imagination, it's fanciful imagination. We're thinking, if I get this, I'll be happy. If I get that, I'll be happy. And I already told you, if we have such thoughts, then what are we doing? We're making ourselves sad. Because what are we saying? Now I choose to be sad, and I'll only be happy if I get that promotion. So whenever we have that thought, if I get this, I will be happy, know that we are making ourselves very sad in the moment. Yeah.
Shivani, isn't that motivation? If you have a goal, I'm working towards that goal.
Yeah.
So that's motivation for me to work hard, right? But if I don't have that, then
correct.
I'm not motivated to do anything for me.
Correct, correct. So we will see it in the context. We will see which sankalpas to entertain, right? So these are fanciful imaginations, sankalpas. And when these fanciful imaginations take root, then they become a desire. They become a desire, right? And these sankalpas, these fanciful imaginations, they depend on what we think is going to make us happy. Because definitely when we go out, we see so many objects, but we don't desire all of them, right? We go into a shop, we see so many objects, but we're not desiring all of them. We're only desiring that which we think will make us happy. And for how long? Just for some time. And at the same time, somebody who's completely away from objects can even have a sankalpa, a fanciful imagination that, oh, if I get this, I will be happy. This sankalpa causes desire. These fanciful imaginations cause desire. So now our question was, but then how do I stay motivated in life? Right? Isn't desire good? Shouldn't we have desire? Do I need to be completely away from desire? So, here are the steps. The first step is to give up the desire for tamasic and rajasic things. So, tamasic things are the desire to be intoxicated, the desire to harm somebody, the desire to take revenge, the desire to harm oneself, the desire to hurt, to shout, to yell, to injure others. That's all a tamasic desire. That desire should be given up. Because that desire is not going to do anybody any good. Right? Now, the rajasic desires. The desires for this excessive power, excessive wealth, excessive status, these desires to fulfill our own egocentric wants. These kinds of desires, they have to be given up because it causes so much agitation. And even how much wealth we get, we're still not satisfied. How much power we get, we're still not satisfied. People who gain some sort of power, still they want more, still they want more. And they say power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts. Right? So this desire does not end by fulfilling it. And whenever we have such Rajasic desires for our own selfish pursuits, for our own selfish reasons, these keep going and going and going, and there's no end to it. So renounce these Rajasic desires. This is step one. Because Tamasic desires, they'll harm everybody. Harm ourselves, harm other people. Rajasic desires, the more we try and fulfill, the more desires will come. Step two is inculcate or encourage Sattvik desires. What are these Sattvik desires? Sattvik desires are the desires to grow, to improve oneself, to develop. So I want to meditate more. Great. Encourage that desire. I want to seek deeply. I want to study the scriptures. Encourage that. I want to do well for my company, not just so I can make lots and lots of money, but so we can actually reach out and help people. Great. Please encourage that. I want to gain a higher position so that I can cause more good in the world. Encourage that. Whenever it is a Sattvik desire, meaning it is a desire for self-improvement, or it is a desire for giving others, for helping others, for creating more benefits for many people, for raising people to greater heights. Whenever it's that kind of desire, encourage it. Why? Because all Sattvik desires, what they do is they give purity to the mind. They purify the mind. And Sattvik desires help purify the mind in such a way that one burning desire lingers, and that is to know who I really am. All Sattvik desires, all desires to improve ourselves, to selflessly give, to create a better society, those desires are great because it makes us, it directs us to have this desire for the self. Desire to know the truth. And when the truth is realized, then all desires, they go. So the first step is to drop all such tamasic, rajasic desires. But there's no place for that in a spiritual seeker's life. Second step, if I have sattvic desires, cultivate it, no problem. The third step is when one realizes the truth, one actually becomes free of all desire. Free of all desire. Why? Because there's no more desirer. There's no more desirer. There's no more ego to desire. There's no more desired object because the world is nothing but awareness. There is no more want for anything because that person realizes that they are absolutely complete. Then how do they function in this world if there's no desire? Won't they have a desire to eat? Won't they have a desire to sleep? Won't they have a desire to go for a walk in the park? Sure. But they're not going to have any desire to complete themselves because they are already complete. So the person who is enlightened functions without any such desire to complete themselves. And so they become desireless. So that is a third stage. So if I want to sort of make my way, then what do I have to do? Come to the sankalpa, those fanciful imaginations, right? Instead of having these fanciful imaginations that if I get this, I will be happy. If I get that, I will be happy. Instead of having that kind of imagination, have a greater thought that if I serve others, I will purify. I will get deeper in my spiritual practice. If I wake up earlier, then I will be a better person. I will improve my health. I will improve my abilities, my habits. If I spend some time in silence, then I will be able to go deeper in myself. That and all is fine. So, asankalpat jayet kamaha. This is how to conquer desire. How to conquer desire. And remember, only the one who is desireless is free. Absolutely free. Because there's nothing they want. And that's why it's so beautiful that this Guru Parampara, this lineage of teacher, student, and the student becomes a teacher and then student. It's such a beautiful lineage because none of the teachers want anything. They don't want anything. What can we give them that they don't already have? They don't want anything. And so when we are learning from people who don't want anything in life, it's such an honor because it is free from all of that desire. It is pure. It's so pure. So, asankalpat jayet kama. And this is also how we would like to be understood in life. Imagine if you go to a doctor. There's an illness. Now, which kind of doctor would you like to go to? The one who wants to make a lot of money? Or the one who's really, really interested in your health and welfare? Correct? The one who's interested in your health and welfare. We enjoy that. We like to go to people like that. If somebody is going to a psychiatrist, which kind of psychiatrist do you want to go to? The one who's only interested in making so much? Or the one who's actually thinking about your progress? So we want that in other people, so that's also how we should be towards other people. That is how to purify the mind. There was one joke. There was a father and his son. And the father was a doctor. And so he was practicing for 20 years. 20 years he was practicing. And his son also became a doctor. So anyway, he was practicing and one day he was sick. So his son was a doctor. He said, you take care of this patient because I'm sick. The son went to the office, the medical office, met the patient and everything, came home and said, Dad, what were you doing for 20 years? I cured this patient. She's well, she's fine. It was not such a big deal. And the father said, you fool. I kept her 20 years so she could pay your college tuition. But this is what he said. See, now that this is the kind of thing that's happening when our mind is just focused on our own gain. How many people will suffer? How? Now next. Krodham. Krodham kava vivarjanat. Krodham kava vivarjanat. That anger. How does anger go? If we take care of desire, then anger goes. Very simple. Stop having these crazy desires and anger will go. Because anger is nothing but an obstruction to our desire. This we also saw. So the more that we desire something, if we don't get it, the more anger we will have. I really wanted this, I really wanted to get this, I worked so hard, I didn't get it. And if my desire was so strong, the anger will be equally strong. If the desire was so less, then the anger will be less. So anger is exactly proportionate to how much I wanted that object. I wanted it so much, that much anger will come. So the trick again is to get rid of these desires, these selfish desires. Otherwise, this anger will keep coming. And anger is such a thing that when it comes, it takes over us. We completely lose control. Anger is something that when it comes, it's not only who we're angry towards that's suffering, but we ourselves are also suffering. Once Swamiji wrote that, when you send somebody to hell, you go there and babysit him also. Because the minute we have such negative energy directed towards a person, so much negative energy is building up on us. Not just on us, on that person, on everybody around us. Everybody has to suffer because of our anger, because of our tantrum. So Swami Chinmayananda Ji used to say, if you're upset, you lock yourself in the room. Like don't share yourself with anybody, because how are you going to get this out? It's so wrong to get this kind of energy out in the world. Keep to yourself. Unless, of course, somebody is very, very, totally in a totally low spot and needs help, then they should get help. But otherwise, if we're feeling that frustration, just take a moment to calm oneself down and see, why am I angry? It's because I didn't get what I wanted. Now tell me, if we get what we want, for how long will we be happy? Right? So when we start to renounce this desire, when the desires become diminished, the anger also becomes diminished. They're directly related with each other. We saw last time some helpful tips for anger, right? How to pause, how to cool down, how to just take ourselves out of the scenario. And how, once in a while, yes, it can be necessary to demonstrate anger, but not get angry. Meaning, for children, to demonstrate it by a look, by raising our voice, but not get angry inside. It is like taking an avatara. Both sometimes the mother and father, they would take an avatara of Kalima or Rudra, but then it's an avatara. It is a phase that we have to show and then bring it back to normal. That is okay when some discipline has to happen in the household, but know that that anger should never control us. It is something to take, to use when something has to be done, and then take back. Now, the next one. He says that there's also something that we suffer from, which is greed, Lobha. And how to overcome greed? Artha narthe kshaya lobham. Means by seeing ikshaya, anartha, the calamitous nature of artha, of wealth. So this is how to overcome greed. Now, is there anything wrong with wealth? Absolutely nothing wrong with wealth. What is wrong with wealth is our attitude. In our culture, we see wealth as Lakshmi. She is Lakshmi. She's not only the source of inner wealth of virtues, but also outer wealth. So we respect wealth. We have a great deal of value for wealth, because without wealth, we cannot seek. We would not be here. We would not be able to sit here and learn. We would not be able to sit here and study if we didn't have wealth. So wealth is respected, but the wealth that is greedy, the wealth that takes over us, the wealth that we just accumulate and hoard for us, that is criticized. That kind of thing is criticized. Because when we hoard all of the wealth, then so many things happen. One thing that happens when we hoard wealth is that we become deluded by it. We become completely deluded by it, that people who have so much, not just wealth and power, feel like they can do anything they want. And it leads to a lot of adharma. They feel like, oh, it's okay, I have all the money in the world, I can do whatever I want. So it leads to just thinking that I can get away with anything. It leads to also the sense of insensitivity. That somebody is so deluded in their wealth, they become so insensitive to other people. They're just thinking about where they're going to go, what they're going to do. But other people may be suffering and they have absolutely no idea. And when there's so much greed of anything, all of our attention goes on that. So the more money and stuff we make, and if we don't give it away, right? If we don't give it away, if we don't share it, what happens is the whole day we're thinking where to put that money, how to save that money, how to get more interest. So the whole thought is just in keeping that. All our supplies, all our assets, everything, if we don't share, if we don't give, then the whole mind is just stuck on that. Where is the time and attention for seeking? So when there's so much greed, all of these things happen. And that is why it says several ways to handle greed, right? One is turn greed into gratitude. Instead of saying, I want more, I want more, I want more, because this is the thought of greed, I want more, just think how much we already have. How much we already have. And yet we want more. What are we going to do with all of it? It just ends up accumulating so much space, so much dust, and it's such a waste in our homes. All of us have done it. We've overpacked our pantries, our refrigerators, our closets, and then so many times we end up buying something that we already have. Correct? We all do it. So first, pay attention to how much we already have. See, we come from such a culture that's so beautiful that they use everything to its fullness. If there is extra rice one day, what happens? Tomorrow it becomes lemon rice. Correct? Finished. You heard? Tomorrow it becomes lemon rice. If there is extra dough one day of the dosa, then tomorrow it becomes idli. That's all. Right? So our parents, they used everything. Everything. They used it. If there was one paper that got torn out of one sheet of notebook and somebody wrote one line, they will take that and use that for something else. But here we come from a very, very different mindset. That to clean anything, we'll take 3 or 4 paper towels. I don't know, such a small spot, and then we take so much to clean it. Think. And then when we take food also, we feel like we want more and more and more. First, eat what's in the plate, right? So turn greed into gratitude. Turn greed into moderation. Do you ever think why we want more when we're eating? It's because we're not tasting the food. If we're actually tasting the food, enjoying it, savoring it, how many of us would want more? So turn greed into moderation. That much is enough. That much. And when you go to Bharat and there's a plate and there's different sections. This much dal, this much chapati, this much sabji, this much everything. That much enough. So everything is measured, and you sit and you finish that, and it's over. But sometimes here we feel like we want more and more and more. And when has excess ever made us happy? Excess of anything. Excess has always put us into distress, right? It's never made us happy. Then turn greed into aspiration. So what if I want to make more money? I want to get a promotion. I want to do all of these great things. Is that such a bad thing? No problem. Grow more to give more. Don't grow more and get more to hoard more. That is greed. If I want to raise to greater heights, fine, but grow to give. Then at least there's a cycle. You will also be happy, people will also be benefited, and our whole time and attention won't just be spent on overindulgence. And then turn greed into simplicity. There's also a beauty in living a very simple life. A very simple life where we just focus on exactly what's important. No need to go out here, there, do this, that. Just focus on what's really, really important here and now. That's such a beautiful thing to do. And then turn greed into surrender. We get so paranoid sometimes. If we don't stock all of this up, who will take care of you? Who's been taking care of us for so many years? Right? We've been taken care of. Everything will work. We don't have to panic. There was this one father and son-in-law. The father-in-law and son-in-law, I should say. The father-in-law was very, very rich. Very rich. The son-in-law was kind of jealous and wanted more money, because the father-in-law has so much money, and what is he doing with all of that money? Why can't he give me some of that money? He doesn't need all of it. So son-in-law had this kind of mentality. And the son-in-law was an architect. So the father-in-law said, I want you to build me a house, he told his son-in-law. And the son-in-law said, okay. And the father-in-law said, I want you to build the best kind of house possible. Yeah? Let's draw it up together, let's draft it, envision it, and then start building it. So the son-in-law drew a nice outline, nice design and everything. And the father-in-law said, I want you to use the best materials that you can find. Use the best materials. Now the son-in-law became greedy. He said, what I'll do is, I'll buy the cheapest materials and I'll keep the rest of the money with me. He won't know because it looks the same, right? That plastic wood looks the same as wood. Or like this plastic marble looks the same as marble. He won't know. I'll just, buy regular material and I'll keep the rest of the money. So he made this house, took him a year and a half to build. And he made this house, the same look, but it was a cheap one. A cheap one that would probably come down, a couple of years. It wasn't sturdy or anything like that. And he called the father-in-law. He said, now, you can see the house is ready. And the father-in-law looked and was very, very pleased. Because obviously it looks nice from the outside. He said, it's so beautiful. What a wonderful job. It's amazing. And the father-in-law looks at the son-in-law. And he says, actually, you know what? This house is for you. This house is for you. And the son-in-law was just shocked. Now what does he do? Right? He has to live in that house. Huh? This is what greed does. Greed does to us. Huh? So, artha, anartha, ikshaya, lobha. See the calamitous nature of being greedy. I want to share with you one subhashita. Subhashita means a nice, wise saying in Sanskrit. It says, Kripanena samo data na bhuto na bhavishyati asprishanneva vittani yah parevya prayachati. It says, there is no giver equal to a miser. There was never a giver. There's never a giver equal to a miser, and there will never be a giver equal to a miser. Miser, somebody who hoards money. Why? Asprishanneva vittani. Without even touching money. Yah parevya prayachati. He donates. Meaning, the miser holds on to all of his money until he dies. And when he dies, all that money there is left and it gets distributed to everybody else. So without touching, he distributes all the wealth. So there is no giver like the miser. Right? So what a wonderful thing. So, Lobha, greed. And of course, to combat greed, we also spoke about charity, dana, last time. Now, bhayam tattva avamarshana. How to conquer fear, tattva avamarshana, by understanding the truth. So what is fear? There are different levels of fear. Somebody watches something on TV, some disease, some ad for a disease. does your stomach look like this? They say all kinds of things. Does your stomach look like this? You may have this disease. Then what they start doing is start imagining, oh, I might have that disease, right? Or some conversation would have happened that, there are evil spirits if you go in that place. Then somebody starts imagining, oh, I should not walk there. There might be evil spirits there. Or somebody might say, if you eat too much of this garlic, then, it can cause this disease. So they start imagining, oh, if I eat so much, then I'll get this disease. Fear means F-E-A-R. False emotions appear real. This is called fear. This is called fear. Fear is when we imagine. Most of our fears are imagined. Some are legit. Like if you see a tiger right here, that's a legit fear. 95% of our fears are all imagined. We imagine that something might happen. Something might happen. Some disease might happen. Some illness might happen. We are afraid we don't know where our child will end up, which school, which college they'll end up. We're afraid we don't know how long we can keep our job. We're afraid for the stock market, what will happen? It will go up and then it will go down. We're so afraid of all of these things. So every day, people are living with fear. Fear in everything. And when people do well, also there's a fear. We're doing so well, something bad might happen. Huh? Well, people are really thinking, this is too good to be true. I think something bad will happen. When people have such good qualities, they're doing so amazingly well in their career, they're afraid that people will criticize them. That people will, people will write newspaper articles about them, bringing them down. So when people are doing well in their business, then they're afraid. Competition. What's the competition called? People who are so beautiful, so handsome, they're afraid. Now what will happen if my body grows old? Nobody will look at me anymore. So people are constantly living in fear. How to get rid of this fear? He says, Tattvam avamarshana. See the truth, the reality of things. Now, from the highest standpoint, there is only one non-dual reality. So what are we afraid of? There's only one non-dual reality. Everything is the expression of that and that alone. How can we be afraid? There's a story of Sharada Devi. Sharada Devi, she was the wife of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. She must have been in her youth, her teenage years, and once she was walking in the forest. She was walking in the forest, and she was walking with a group of people to go see Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. But they walked in front of her, so she was now on her own. And it's a dark forest. It's a dark, dark forest. She's there, she's walking on her own. Suddenly, a robber, a thief comes. And he has a bat. And he says, where are you going? He looks at her, where are you going? Big, stern man looks at her, where are you going? And what does she do? She looks at him. She says, Father, I'm going to your son-in-law's house. This is how she replies. Father, I'm going to your son-in-law's house. And a lady comes near him, that thief, who could have been his wife. And she also looks sturdy. And she says, yes, Mother, I'm going to your son-in-law's house. So she calls that thief father. And she calls that thief's wife mother. And immediately, when they heard that, their hearts melted. And instead of trying to take things from her and giving her a hard time, they took care of her and they saw her safely to Dakshineshwar. That is from the highest standpoint. That when we understand that everything is actually this one truth, then what can we be afraid of? What can we be afraid of? The second point is that there is that divine being. There's Bhagavan. There's that cosmic intelligence, that cosmic strength, that cosmic creator. Why should we be afraid? Has he not taken care of us so far? So far we're all okay? So far? How is it that a child, a baby, functions in the stomach of a mother? How? Do we know? We don't know. The baby is taken care of. How is it when the baby comes out, teeth are growing slowly, nails are growing slowly, hair is growing slowly? Are you making that happen? Is any scientist making that happen? How is it that all of a sudden the mother can give milk to the baby? How? There is a cosmic intelligence. If we just trust and surrender to that, there is no need to fear. Everything will work out. In fact, if we hold that fear, if we hold that worry, Bhagavan will say, well, why will I take care of you? You're worrying, you are afraid. You take care of yourself. But the minute we let go of our fear, let go of our worry, and let God do His thing. Let Devi, let Bhagavati do her thing. Let them do their thing. Then there's a sense of freedom. We don't have to worry. We don't have to be afraid. Everything will be fine. Everything has been fine. So everything will always be fine. That is the second point. First point is the one who sees that ultimate oneness in all, they will never have fear. The one who has complete surrender in the divine, they will never have fear. And the one who lives a life of dharma, they will never have fear. When we live a life of dharma, we live a righteous life, we become fearless. Because we're doing what we can in the right way. But when we do something wrong, our whole body language changes. We walk like this, right? When we lie, aren't we afraid? When we cheat, when we steal, when we misspeak, when we do something wrong, aren't we afraid? So when we don't prepare for something, aren't we afraid? So when we fail in our dharma, we become afraid, and we should be, because we failed in our dharma. But when we live a life of dharma, then we will not be afraid. So this is how to conquer that fear, that bhaya. More we will see next week. Now, anybody have any questions or thoughts? I want to give you too much time, but any questions or thoughts in your mind about anything we spoke of? Okay, so clear? So to get rid of desire, let go of sankalpa. But does that mean let go of all desires? No, keep the Sattvik ones, because they'll purify us. How to deal with anger? Let go of desire. Simple, because of less desire, less anger. How to let go of greed? See the calamitous nature of it, what it does to us. How to let go of fear? See that oneness everywhere, have complete surrender, live a life of dharma. And we will be able to let go of that fear. And remember, 95% of that fear is imagination based. It's because we're imagining things. If we stop imagining and we see the truth of it, then we will not be afraid. I'll close with one story of Swami Vivekanandaji. When he was a boy, there was a rumor that in some certain tree house there were ghosts. And so all the young boys, they didn't want to go there. He stood bravely and he said, really? I'm gonna go into that tree house and spend the night. And I wanna see for myself if there's a ghost or not. And he did that. And he came out and he said, there's no such thing. I don't know why you're all afraid. Oh, that's a very beautiful thing. You know, he had that ability to see the truth. That's what we need to do. Alright? Okay. Stop here. Say the closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Before we conclude, so as Anjali mentioned, on March 16th, that is a Saturday, Trevor needs to